Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com. Today we're taking a closer look at installing and listening to the Borla ATAK Cat-Back Exhaust with the black carbon fiber tips, available for all 2018 and newer Mustang GTs without the active exhaust. Now, as you just heard from our sound clip, guys, the Borla ATAK is known to be one of the loudest of the loud in the category, so right off the bat, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 on our loudness meter. The ATAK system is going to give you the loudest possible volume without distorting the tone, so it's crisp and clear, while also minimizing the amount of drone you have inside the cabin. So it's a great option for guys looking to get one of the louder options, but still be able to have a conversation in their car with a passenger or listen to music peacefully without it being too overwhelming. Idle, it's going to be pretty tamed. It's got a nice rumble to it, but as you start opening up that throttle, it gets a lot more aggressive and a lot louder. At wide open throttle, it is going to be all bark and all play. So if you're looking for 5 out of 5, that is definitely something you can expect. Now, if you're not really interested in the loudest of the loud, Borla does offer a Borla Stinger S-Type, which is their middle of the road as far as volume, and their Touring, which is more on the easy mellow side of the spectrum. So they do have options for everybody, but if you like the Borla quality, you have a couple to choose from. Just know, guys, I will break down what exactly the ATAK muffler stands for when we get to comparing it to the factory system, and I'll talk about some of the material differences. This one up front is going to have 3-inch mandrel-bent tubing, 304 stainless steel, so it is some of the highest quality materials in the category. Now, if you're located here on the East Coast like we are, you see a lot of salt in the wintry weather months, which can corrode exhaust systems. 304 stainless is known to hold up a lot longer than 409 or aluminized options in the category. Now, the black carbon fiber tips are super unique. If you're not looking for carbon fiber, there's other options out there, but this is for guys who want to stand up and stand out and who want that exotic car feel at the rear end. I personally think it does blend in well with your matte black rear valance, and I think it looks good on the Orange Fury as well. The carbon fiber is essentially a sleeve bolted onto the bare metal exhaust tip, so it is a little bit unique compared to some of the other builds in exhaust tips. So this kit is going to be a little bit more pricey because of the black carbon fiber tips, coming in right around $1,950. Now, if you're, again, not looking for carbon fiber, you want to cut some cost, the black chrome tip is an option from Borla ATAK, right around $1,650. So the price difference is there, but it's worthwhile if you like that exotic look. The install, I'm going to give 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Anybody can tackle this with the right hand tools in the driveway at home in about 2 to 3 hours from start to finish. It is a direct bolt-on, so there's no cutting, there's no welding, no permanent modifications. You can easily remove your factory exhaust all in one piece and bolt this up in separate pieces. I'm going to show you every step of the process here. What do you say we get started? Tools used in this install include an impact gun or a ratchet, an extension, 13 and 15 millimeter deep sockets. Recommended would be WD-40 or something similar, and a mallet. All right, guys, once you have your Mustang up in the air and supported properly, whether it be on jack stands or on a lift like we have here, you want to grab an impact gun or a ratchet and a 15 millimeter deep socket, and we're going to loosen up the 2 band clamps holding on your factory catback to the catalytic converter pipes. Now, you'll see that right in front of the factory resonator. There's 2 nuts here and 2 nuts there. You don't have to completely remove them, just get them nice and loose. All right, the next step, we're going to move back toward the rear of our vehicle, right under the rear subframe. Now, if you look at your rear sway bar, straight past them are 2 hangers where your exhaust is hooked on and bolted to that subframe using 2 13 millimeter bolts. From here, instead of trying to slide our hangers out of the isolators, I'm actually just going to completely unbolt the isolators to make life a lot easier. So grab an extension and a 13 millimeter deep socket, and what I like to do is go straight over the sway bar and remove those 2 bolts. All right, now what I like to do after the bolts are removed is we have to unclip the isolator from the frame. They're still hooked in there. So what you're basically going to do is lift up on them so they disconnect, and rotate them down and out of the way. All right, our next step here is to get our entire factory catback off of the vehicle. We're gonna start up here with our resonator. Right in front of those, I'm gonna tap out the factory band clamps. I got my buddy Stan helping me get this thing down. If you're working on the ground, you may be able to do it by yourself, but if you're in the air, you might want a helping hand. All right, so now we should slide them out of the hangers at the tips, and it should come free. All right, so we got our factory exhaust off of our 2019 GT, and it's on the ground here next to our Borla ATAK Cat-Back with the carbon fiber tips. I want to take you through some similarities and differences between the two kits, and I want to start up here at the front. Now, your factory exhaust has this resonator, but as you can see, your Borla ATAK has a resonator delete, replacing it with a very free-flowing X-pipe. The X-pipe is going to give you a bump in power because it is less restrictive than the resonator, and it's less restrictive than an H-pipe in the category as well. Now, this entire exhaust from the X-pipe back to the mufflers is a 3-inch mandrel-bent T304 stainless steel. So it's more durable than the factory materials, and it is a little bit larger in diameter. Your factory exhaust is around 2 3/4 inch, so about 1/4 of an inch difference in diameter. Now, moving on from that X pipe, which will give you a nice raspy tone as well in comparison to the factory resonator, you're also going to see that the new exhaust is less restrictive in terms of the kinks throughout the exhaust. You can see many kinks around the factory build. The mandrel bends in the Cat-Back here from Borla is going to reduce that. As we get toward our muffler, you'll see a slight difference here by our hangers. Now, this pipe breaks into 4 individual pipes before entering into the muffler. That is patented technology from Borla known as the polyphonic harmonizer. Now, the polyphonic harmonizer gives you 4 different pipes of different diameters and different lengths that produce multiple different sounds. Now, each sound there will then harmonize together to give you a nice clear, crisp, and rich tone. Combine that with the ATAK technology and you have a drone-free, distortion-free, very loud and clear exhaust note. ATAK stands for Acoustically Tuned Applied Kinetics. Their technology built into this muffler here gives you the loudest possible volume without distortion while also minimizing drone. That, in combination with their polyphonic harmonizer technology, makes it a very unique system. And it's also built and tuned specifically for each make and model, so each one will have a slightly unique, custom-tuned sound. Exiting out of that, you will see a huge difference in the tip appearance. Now, your factory tips are right around 3.5 inches. Your new option here from Borla is a 4-inch quad tip / cut double-walled tip. So it's thick, it's very aggressive, and this particular option has the carbon fiber finish. The carbon fiber tips are essentially sleeves made of real carbon fiber bolted to the exhaust tip or the exhaust exit on the muffler. Now, that is very unique when compared to a lot of the other options in the category. It's obviously a huge difference in comparison to your factory exhaust. So if you're looking to stand out, this is a great way to go. And it's got the Borla name embedded right on top of the tips to represent. Now, there's a couple of things we have to transfer over from the factory exhaust to your new option, including the hanger isolators from the midsection under your subframe. We're also going to have to bolt down or clamp down the X-pipe adapters that'll adapt to the catalytic converter pipes. So let's get to it. All right, so first step here, let's grab 2 of our clamps included in the kit. We're going to tighten down the adapters to our X-pipe. Now, out of the box, they should be installed. If they're not, just insert them into the inlet. Now I'm going to slide a clamp over the end, and I'm going to tighten it down with the bolt head facing out. All right, same thing on the other side. And for this, you're using a 15mm socket. All right, next we're going to transfer over the factory isolators from our stock exhaust to our new Borla. Now for this, we're just going to twist and rotate and slide these guys off. It may be easier to lubricate this with some WD-40 if it's giving you any trouble. All right, now when you transfer them over, you want to take note of this little tab here at the top end of the isolator. This tab should be facing the subframe, the rear subframe of the vehicle, or facing the front of the vehicle. So when we slide these guys on, they should be facing away from the tips, just like that. I'm going to rotate it down and out of the way for now. Same thing on the other side. First step, we're gonna swap over the factory band clamps onto the cat pipes here. Now, as you can see, there's these little tabs and there's little welded on buttons. They're gonna slot right in here. So I'm just gonna put those in place, and that lets us know where it should be. They're like retainer pins almost. When we slide these guys in, you can see it slots right in there. Now we can grab our X pipe, tighten it down to these clamps. All right, now on our X pipe, the adapter pipes that we tighten down using these clamps will slot right into the factory band clamps. Grab your 15 socket, and we're gonna tighten down the clamps. All right, continuing along with the exhaust install here, we're gonna start on our passenger side, throw a clamp over the passenger side pipe. We're gonna slide this guy into the X pipe. All right, make sure it seats all the way back, and now we can connect the hanger to the frame. So here, if you remember, we slid this down. I'm gonna rotate it back up, and we're gonna hang it right on into that slot where it originally was on the factory exhaust. Just like that. All right, let's repeat that on the other side. All right, again, just the same thing on our driver's side. All right, so now what we can do is align it where we want them to be, so face these guys in the right direction, and we can tighten them down at our X pipe. All right, now when we tighten these clamps, we're not gonna tighten them down too much just yet. Just get them nice and snug, but leave some room for adjustment so that we can align our tips, and then we'll come back and tighten them down later on. All right, so now we can go back to these isolators on our frame, grab the factory 13mm bolts, and put them back in by hand. All right, grab your 13 socket and your extension, and we're gonna tighten these guys down. Now when you do this, you wanna make sure that the isolators are straight. All right, next step, we're gonna take our muffler, put a clamp on the inlet side. First thing you wanna do is line up your exhaust hanger to your isolator above the tip, slide it in, line up the tubing, and slide them together. Put your clamp in position and tighten it down. Again, we're just getting it nice and snug, leaving a little bit of room for adjustment. All right, now we're doing the same thing on the other side. All right, now we can tighten up that clamp. Once you have your final muffler in place, go back and tighten down all your clamps, making sure your tips are aligned properly, and then you're good to go. That's gonna wrap up my review and install for the Borla ATAK Cat-Back with the black carbon fiber tips, available for all 2018 and newer Mustang GTs without active exhaust. This guy you can pick up for yourself right here at AmericanMuscle.com.